The man who had everything except Nathan Blackwell stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows of his penthouse office, surveying the Manhattan skyline like a king overlooking his kingdom. At 32, he had built Blackwell Industries from a startup into a multi-billion-dollar tech empire. He had money, power, respect, and influence beyond measure. Yet lately, none of it filled the hollow space in his chest. His days blurred together in an endless cycle of board meetings, investor calls, and strategic planning. His nights were equally monotonous, spent alone in his sprawling apartment with nothing but expensive whiskey and financial reports for company. His executive assistant knocked twice before entering. "Mr. Blackwell, your 9 o'clock is here." The new head of marketing. Nathan barely glanced up from his tablet. Send them in. What happened next would alter the trajectory of his carefully ordered life forever. When she walked in, Olivia Monroe entered his office with the kind of confidence that made people stop and stare. She wore a fitted navy dress that was professional yet impossible to ignore. Her auburn hair pulled back in a sleek ponytail that highlighted her striking features. Her green eyes met his directly, unflinching, assessing him just as much as he was assessing her. "Mr. Blackwell." Her voice was smooth, controlled. "Thank you for seeing me." Nathan stood, momentarily caught off guard by the jolt of electricity that shot through him when their hands met in a firm handshake. Her grip was confident, her palm warm against his. He found himself holding on a fraction too long before releasing her. "Miss Monroe, please sit." He gestured to the chair across from his desk, using those few seconds to compose himself. This reaction was unprecedented. He was Nathan Blackwell. He did not get flustered by attractive women. Olivia sat, crossing her legs in a way that drew his attention, despite his best efforts to remain professional. She opened her portfolio with practiced ease, completely unaware of the effect she was having on him. Or perhaps she was aware and simply did not care. Somehow, that possibility made her even more intriguing. "The dance begins. I've reviewed your credentials," Nathan said, forcing his focus back to business. "Your track record is impressive. 3 successful product launches in 2 years, each exceeding projected revenue by at least 40%. You have a gift for understanding consumer psychology. I do not believe in selling products, Mr. Blackwell." Olivia leaned forward slightly, her eyes intense. "I believe in telling stories that make people feel something. When you connect with emotion, numbers follow naturally." Nathan found himself genuinely interested, not just in what she was saying, but in the passion with which she said it. Most people in his office were intimidated by him, carefully measuring their words, agreeing with everything he suggested. Olivia spoke with conviction, challenging his perspectives without being confrontational. "That is a romantic way of looking at business," he observed. "Romance sells." "Mr. Blackwell," a hint of a smile played at her lips. "Look at the most successful brands in the world. They do not just provide services. They promise transformation, belonging, identity. That is romance in its purest form." For the next hour, they discussed marketing strategy, brand positioning, and her vision for taking Blackwell Industries to the next level. Nathan found himself arguing points he did not entirely believe in, just to see the fire in her eyes when she disagreed, to watch her lean forward with enthusiasm when she made a particularly strong point, to hear the melodic cadence of her voice when she got passionate about an idea. When she finally stood to leave, Nathan realized he did not want her to go. That thought unsettled him more than he cared to admit. "I look forward to working with you, Miss Monroe." "Olivia, please." She extended her hand again. "If we are going to work together, let us skip the formalities." "Nathan," he replied, taking her hand, and once again feeling that electric current pass between them. After she left, Nathan stood at his window for a long time, staring out at nothing in particular, his mind replaying every moment of their conversation. He had a rule about workplace relationships. They were messy, complicated, and potentially disastrous for business. He had never been tempted to break that rule. Until now. The following weeks, Olivia proved to be everything her credentials promised and more. Within her first week, she had reorganized the entire marketing department, launched innovative campaigns, and somehow convinced his most stubborn department heads to embrace her vision. She was brilliant, creative, and relentless in her pursuit of excellence. She was also driving Nathan absolutely insane. Every morning, she would stop by his office with campaign updates, and every morning, Nathan would find himself watching the way sunlight caught in her hair, the way she bit her lower lip when concentrating on data, the way her eyes sparkled when she was excited about an idea. He invented reasons to call her into meetings. He requested her presence at client dinners. He found himself staying late at the office on the nights he knew she would still be there, telling himself it was about dedication to work and nothing more. But it was more, so much more. Olivia seemed equally affected, though she hid it well behind professionalism. He caught her watching him sometimes, her gaze lingering a moment too long before she would look away. During presentations, when they stood close together reviewing materials, he could feel the tension humming between them like a live wire. Neither acknowledged it. Both were acutely aware of it. The breaking point came on a Friday evening. Most of the office had cleared out for the weekend, but Nathan and Olivia remained, working on a crucial presentation for Monday morning. They stood side by side at the conference table, reviewing mock-ups, their shoulders occasionally brushing, sending sparks of awareness through him each time. "This color scheme is wrong," Olivia said, reaching across him to point at the screen. Her arm grazed his chest, and Nathan felt his breath catch. "What would you suggest?" His voice came out rougher than intended. She turned to answer, and suddenly realized how close they were standing. Her eyes widened slightly, her lips parting. Nathan could smell her perfume, something floral and intoxicating, could see the pulse beating rapidly at her throat, could feel the heat radiating from her body. "Olivia," he said, his voice low, warning. "Nathan," she breathed, and the way she said his name nearly undid him. He stepped back, putting necessary distance between them. "We should call it a night. Finish this Monday morning." Something flickered in her eyes. Disappointment, maybe, or relief. "Yes, of course. Good night, Nathan." After she left, Nathan poured himself a whiskey with shaking hands. This could not continue. He could not continue like this, wanting someone he could not have, thinking about her constantly, feeling like a starving man presented with a feast he was forbidden to touch. Something had to give. He just did not know it would be his carefully constructed control. Shattered by seeing her smile at another man, the gala that changed everything. The annual Tech Innovation Gala was the social event of the season, where billion-dollar deals were made over champagne and canapes, where power players networked beneath crystal chandeliers, where appearances mattered as much as actual achievements. Nathan attended every year out of obligation, never enjoyment. He found these events tedious, filled with fake smiles and emptier conversations. This year felt different. This year, Olivia would be there. He told himself his anticipation had nothing to do with seeing her in an evening gown, nothing to do with the fact that they would be outside the office for once, in a setting where the lines between professional and personal might blur just slightly. He told himself many lies that evening as he adjusted his bow tie and headed to the grand ballroom of the Plaza Hotel. The moment Nathan entered, his eyes scanned the crowd, searching for her. He shook hands with investors, exchanged pleasantries with competitors, accepted congratulations on his latest acquisition, all while his attention remained elsewhere. Where was she? Then he saw her, and his world stopped spinning. The vision in emerald. Olivia stood near the bar, wearing an emerald green gown that hugged every curve before flowing to the floor in elegant waves. The dress had a daring neckline that showcased her collarbones and the graceful line of her neck. Her auburn hair was swept up in an intricate style that left her shoulders bare, and she wore diamond earrings that caught the light with every movement. She was breathtaking, and Nathan was not the only one who noticed. Several men clustered around her, drawn like moths to a flame. She laughed at something one of them said, her head tilting back, exposing the vulnerable curve of her throat. Nathan's hands clenched at his sides. He forced himself to look away, to focus on the conversation happening around him, but his gaze kept drifting back to her. Then Julian Forster appeared. Nathan knew Julian professionally. They had worked together on a few deals, competed on others. Julian was charming, successful, and had a reputation as something of a playboy. He was also devastatingly handsome, with the kind of easy confidence that made people gravitate toward him. Julian approached Olivia with 2 glasses of champagne, offering her one with a smile that was far too familiar for Nathan's liking. Olivia accepted the glass, returning his smile with one of her own. They began talking, their body language relaxed, comfortable. Julian leaned in close to say something, and Olivia laughed again, her hand reaching out to touch his arm in a gesture of casual intimacy. Nathan felt something dark and primal surge through him, jealousy, raw, burning, irrational jealousy that made his vision narrow and his jaw clench so hard he thought his teeth might crack. The unraveling for the next hour. Nathan tried to focus on anything else. He discussed market trends with fellow CEOs. He listened to a venture capitalist pitch a new startup. He smiled and nodded and played his part perfectly, all while watching Olivia and Julian from the corner of his eye. They danced together, Julian's hand resting possessively on the small of her back. They stood close in conversation, their heads bent together like they were sharing secrets. They laughed at private jokes, their connection obvious to anyone paying attention. And Nathan was paying very close attention. He downed his scotch and ordered another, then another. The alcohol did nothing to dull the sharp edge of his jealousy. If anything, it made everything more intense, more immediate, more impossible to ignore. When Julian leaned in and whispered something in Olivia's ear, his lips almost brushing her skin, something inside Nathan snapped. He crossed the ballroom in long, purposeful strides, barely registering the people he passed. His focus had narrowed to a single point, Olivia. When he reached them, he did not bother with pleasantries. "Miss Monroe, I need to speak with you now." Olivia turned, her eyes widening in surprise at his tone. "Nathan, I was just talking with Julian." "You remember Julian Forster?" "I remember." Nathan's voice was ice, his gaze fixed on Julian with unmistakable hostility. "This will only take a moment." Julian raised his hands in mock surrender, a knowing smile playing at his lips. "No problem, Blackwell. I will catch up with you later." "Olivia." He emphasized her first name deliberately, and Nathan wanted to punch that smug smile off his face. The confessionathan guided Olivia away from the crowd, his hand at her elbow, leading her through a side door into a deserted hallway. The muted sounds of the gala faded behind them, leaving them in relative silence, alone for the first time all evening. "What was that about?" Olivia demanded, pulling her arm free. "You were incredibly rude to Julian." "Who is he to you?" Nathan's voice was rough, barely controlled. "What?" "Julian Forster. Who is he to you?" Olivia stared at him, confusion and something else flickering across her face. "He's a business acquaintance. We met at a conference last year." "Why does it matter?" "Are you dating him?" "That is none of your business." "Nathan, are you?" He stepped closer, his body nearly touching hers, his eyes burning with intensity she had never seen before. "No." Her voice softened slightly. "We are just friends." "Nathan, what is going on?" "What is going on?" He laughed, but there was no humor in it. "What is going on is that I have been going insane for weeks, trying to be professional, trying to maintain distance, trying to pretend I do not think about you every second of every day." Olivia's breath caught. "Nathan ... Do you have any idea what it does to me? Seeing you every day, being near you, wanting you so badly I can barely think straight. And tonight, watching you with him, watching you smile at him, laugh with him, touch him." His hands came up to grip her shoulders, not hard, but firm, desperate. "I wanted to tear him apart. I wanted to pull you away and tell everyone in that room that you are mine." "I am not yours," Olivia whispered, but her voice shook, betraying her. "You could be." Nathan's hand came up to cup her face, his thumb tracing her cheekbone. "Tell me you do not feel this thing between us. Tell me I am imagining the way you look at me, the tension when we are alone together, The way your breath catches when I get too close. Tell me, and I will walk away right now." Olivia closed her eyes, leaning into his touch despite herself. When she opened them again, they were bright with unshed tears and unmistakable desire. "I cannot tell you that, because it would be a lie." "Then what are we doing? Why are we pretending?" "Because it is complicated, Nathan. You are my boss. This could destroy everything we have both worked for. The gossip, the judgment, the questions about whether I earned my position or slept my way into it. I do not care about any of that. You should. We both should." Nathan's other hand came up to frame her face, holding her gently but firmly. "The only thing I care about right now, this moment. You and me. Nothing else matters. Nathan, we cannot ... Do not tell me what we cannot do." His voice dropped to a rough whisper. "Tell me what you want. Tell me the truth." Olivia stared up at him, her resolve crumbling. "I want you. I have wanted you since the day we met. But I am terrified of what happens next." "So am I," Nathan admitted. "But I am more terrified of walking away, of going back to pretending, of watching you smile at other men while I stand on the sidelines, wishing I had the courage to fight for what I want." "And what do you want?" "You. Only you. Always you." The kissed last thread of Olivia's resistance snapped. She rose on her toes, closing the distance between them, and kissed him with all the pent-up desire of the past weeks. Nathan responded instantly, his arms wrapping around her waist, pulling her flush against him. The kiss was explosive, desperate, full of weeks of denied longing. His hands roamed her back, feeling the bare skin exposed by her gown, the heat of her body beneath the silk. Her fingers tangled in his hair, pulling him closer, deeper. They kissed like drowning people gasping for air, like they might never get another chance, like nothing else in the world existed except this moment. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Nathan rested his forehead against hers. "Come home with me tonight. Nathan ... please." It was the first time she had ever heard him beg. "I am not asking for promises or commitments. I just want a night. Just want to be with you without walls or pretenses. Please, Olivia." She pulled back to look at him, seeing the vulnerability in his eyes, the raw need that matched her own. This was crazy. This was reckless. This could ruin everything. "Yes," she whispered. "Take me home." The drive home Eddie left through a side exit, avoiding the main ballroom and the questions that would follow as they were seen leaving together. Nathan's driver brought the car around, and they slid into the back seat, immediately gravitating toward each other like magnets. The partition was up, giving them privacy. Nathan could not keep his hands off her. He traced the line of her jaw, the curve of her neck, the exposed skin of her shoulders. Olivia's eyes fluttered closed, her lips parting as his fingers skimmed across her collarbone. "I have imagined this so many times," Nathan murmured against her ear. "Having you like this. Finally being able to touch you. Show me." Olivia turned her head, capturing his lips in another searing kiss. "Show me everything you have imagined." The drive to his penthouse had never felt longer. Every red light was torture. Every block seemed to stretch endlessly. But finally, they pulled up to his building. Nathan guided her through the lobby, into the private elevator, his hand never leaving the small of her back. The moment the elevator doors closed, they were on each other again. Nathan pressed her against the mirrored wall, his mouth claiming hers with desperate hunger. Olivia's leg hooked around his hip, pulling him closer, her body responding to his with equal intensity. The elevator dinged, announcing their arrival at the penthouse. Nathan swept Olivia into his arms, carrying her across the threshold of his apartment. She laughed breathlessly, her arms around his neck, her eyes shining with desire and something deeper. He carried her straight to his bedroom, laying her gently on his bed. For a moment, he just stood there, looking at her, this beautiful, brilliant, captivating woman who had turned his entire world upside down. "You are magnificent," he said softly. "And tonight, I am going to worship every inch of you." Olivia reached up, pulling him down to her. "Then stop talking and start proving it." Nathan smiled against her lips. "Yes, ma'am." They made love with the intensity of people who had denied themselves too long, exploring each other with desperate hands and hungry mouths. Nathan learned what made Olivia gasp, what made her arch against him, what made her whisper his name like a prayer. Olivia discovered the man beneath the billionaire facade, vulnerable and passionate, and completely undone by her touch. Afterward, they lay tangled together, skin against skin, heartbeats slowly returning to normal. Olivia traced patterns on Nathan's chest, her head resting over his heart. "What happens now?" she asked quietly. Nathan tightened his arms around her. "Now we figure it out together. No more hiding, no more pretending. People will talk. Let them talk. I do not care anymore. The only thing I care about is you." Olivia lifted her head to look at him. "You really mean that?" "I have never meant anything more in my life." He kissed her softly. "Stay with me tonight. Tomorrow we will face whatever comes. But tonight, just be here with me." "Okay," she whispered, settling back against him. "Tonight, I am yours, forever," Nathan corrected, though he did not say it out loud. But as he held her close, feeling her breathing slow as she drifted towards sleep, he knew with absolute certainty that this was not just for tonight. This was the beginning of something that would change both their lives forever. The morning after sunlight filtered through the floor-to-ceiling windows of Nathan's bedroom, casting golden light across the tangled white sheets, Olivia woke slowly, momentarily disoriented by the unfamiliar surroundings. Then memory flooded back, the gala, the confession, the night of passion that had left her both satisfied and wanting more. She turned her head to find Nathan already awake, propped on one elbow, watching her with an intensity that made her heart skip. His dark hair was disheveled from her fingers, his jaw shadowed with stubble, and he looked more human, more real than she had ever seen him. "Good morning," he said, his voice rough from sleep. "Good morning." She felt suddenly shy, pulling the sheet higher despite the fact that he had seen and touched every inch of her body. Just hours ago, Nathan reached out, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. "No regrets." Olivia considered the question seriously. Everything had changed last night. Their professional relationship, their carefully maintained boundaries, the safe distance they had kept between them. There would be consequences. There would be complications. But looking into Nathan's eyes, feeling the warmth of his hand against her cheek, she knew her answer. "No regrets. My only regret is that I waited so long." He leaned down to kiss her, soft and sweet, a promise of more to come. "Stay for a breakfast." "I should probably go home. Change clothes. Stay." His hand traced down her arm, leaving goosebumps in its wake. "I will send someone to pick up whatever you need. Just stay a little longer." How could she refuse when he looked at her like that? Like she was the most precious thing in his world. Facing reality Monday morning, they had made a decision. They would be honest about their relationship, but professional. Nathan would make it clear that Olivia's position was based entirely on merit, that their personal involvement had no bearing on her professional role. They would maintain appropriate boundaries at work, saving their intimacy for hours. It sounded simple in theory. In practice, it proved much more complicated. The gossip started immediately. Whispers in hallways, knowing looks exchanged over conference tables, speculation about how long the relationship had been going on. Some people were supportive, genuinely happy for them. Others were skeptical, questioning whether Olivia had earned her rapid rise or simply charmed the boss. Olivia held her head high, letting her work speak for itself. She arrived early, stayed late, and delivered results that exceeded every expectation. Slowly, the skeptics were forced to admit that her relationship with Nathan had nothing to do with her exceptional abilities. But the real test came 6 weeks later. When disaster struck, the crisis, a major product launch, went catastrophically wrong. A security flaw that should have been caught in testing was discovered by hackers, exposing customer data and sending the company's stock into freefall. The media had a field day, questioning Blackwell Industries' competence and calling for Nathan's resignation. Nathan became someone Olivia barely recognized. The warm, passionate man who held her at night disappeared, replaced by a cold, ruthless executive who worked 20-hour days and barely slept. He was consumed by damage control, by fixing the unfixable, by saving the empire he had built. Olivia tried to help, tried to be there for him, but Nathan pushed her away. He cancelled their dinner plans. He stopped returning her calls. When she showed up at his office late one night, she found him staring at financial reports, his face haggard with exhaustion. "Nathan, you need to sleep. You need to eat. You are going to collapse if you keep this up." "I do not have time for this, Olivia." His dismissive tone stung. "You do not have time for me. You mean?" He looked up then, and she saw the walls he had rebuilt around himself. "This is my company, my responsibility. I cannot afford distractions right now." "Is that what I am? A distraction?" "I did not mean it like that." "Then what did you mean?" She moved closer, desperately trying to reach the man she knew was still in there somewhere. "Talk to me, Nathan. Let me help you." "You cannot help." His voice was flat, defeated. "Nobody can. I built this empire, and I am watching it crumble. Everything I worked for, everything I sacrificed for, gone because of one mistake that was not your fault. The testing team missed it. That does not make you a failure. I am the CEO. Everything that happens under my watch is my responsibility." Olivia saw the path he was heading down, the self-destructive spiral of blame and isolation. She had two choices: walk away and protect herself, or fight for him even when he was pushing her away. She chose to fight. "The stand no," Olivia said firmly. Nathan looked up, surprised. "What? No, you do not get to do this. You do not get to shut me out and pretend you are alone in this. We are partners, Nathan. That means good times and bad times. That means I stand by you when things are falling apart, not just when everything is perfect." "Olivia, this is not your problem. The hell it is not." She planted her hands on his desk, leaning forward. "I love you, you stubborn, impossible man, and I am not going anywhere. So you can either accept my help and let me be here for you, or you can keep pushing me away and lose the best thing that ever happened to you, along with your company." Nathan stared at her, emotions warring across his face. "You love me." "Of course I love you. I have been in love with you since that first kiss, maybe even before. And watching you torture yourself like this, watching you carry this burden alone when you do not have to, it is killing me." His carefully constructed walls crumbled. Nathan stood, rounding the desk to pull her into his arms, holding her like a drowning man clinging to a life raft. "I am sorry. I am so sorry. I thought I was protecting you by keeping you at a distance. I thought if I failed, if I lost everything, you would be better off without me. That is the stupidest thing I have ever heard." Olivia pulled back to look at him. "I do not care about your money or your company or any of that. I care about you, just you. And together, we are going to fix this." "How?" "First, you are going to sleep, real sleep, at least 8 hours. Then we are going to approach this problem the way we approach everything else, as a team. I have some ideas about damage control and rebuilding trust, but I need you functioning at full capacity to pull them off." For the first time in weeks, Nathan smiled. "You are incredible." "I know. Now come on. We are going home." The turnaround with Olivia by his side. Nathan found his footing again. Together, they crafted a comprehensive response to the crisis. They offered free credit monitoring to all affected customers. They implemented new security protocols that exceeded industry standards. They launched a transparency initiative, sharing their processes and inviting outside auditors to verify their systems. Most importantly, Nathan did something he had never done before. He admitted his mistakes publicly. In a press conference that Olivia helped him prepare for, he took full responsibility for the breach, outlined the steps they were taking to ensure it never happened again, and apologized directly to every customer affected. The media expected arrogance or deflection. Instead, they got humility and genuine remorse. The public response was overwhelmingly positive. Within 3 months, the stock had recovered. Within 6 months, Blackwell Industries was stronger than ever, with enhanced security measures that became the gold standard for the industry. Through it all, Nathan and Olivia grew closer. The crisis had tested their relationship in ways neither expected, but instead of breaking them apart, it forged a bond even stronger than before. The proposal only a year after that fateful gala. Nathan took Olivia back to the Plaza Hotel. They attended the Tech Innovation Gala again, but this time they walked in together, hand in hand, no longer hiding their relationship from anyone. They danced together, laughed together, fielded questions about their relationship and their company with equal grace. When Julian Forster approached to congratulate them on their turnaround, Nathan shook his hand without a trace of the jealousy that had consumed him a year ago. "Thank you for whatever you said to Olivia that night," Nathan told him seriously. "If you had not been there, I might never have found the courage to admit how I felt." Julian grinned. "All I did was compliment her dress. You did the rest yourself." As the evening wound down, Nathan led Olivia onto the balcony overlooking Central Park. The city sparkled below them, millions of lights creating a tapestry of possibility. "Do you remember last year?" Nathan asked, pulling her close. "How I saw you with Julian and completely lost my mind with jealousy." "How could I forget? You practically dragged me into that hallway. Best decision I ever made." "Well, second best." Olivia turned to face him. "What was the first?" Nathan released her hand and reached into his pocket. When he pulled it out again, he held a small velvet box. Olivia's eyes widened, her hand flying to her mouth. "The first best decision," Nathan said, dropping to one knee, "was falling in love with you. And now I want to make another one. The best one yet." He opened the box, revealing a stunning diamond ring that caught the moonlight and fractured it into 1,000 tiny rainbows. "Olivia Monroe, you challenged me from the moment we met. You refused to let me hide behind my walls. You stood by me during the worst crisis of my career. You made me believe I could be more than just a successful businessman. You made me believe I could be a good man, a complete man, the man I want to be." Tears streamed down Olivia's face, but she was smiling, radiant with joy. "I cannot promise you a perfect life. I can promise you my whole heart, my complete devotion, and my unwavering commitment. I can promise that I will love you with everything I have, for as long as I live. Olivia, will you marry me?" "Yes." The word came out as a whisper, then stronger. "Yes, yes, 1,000 times yes." Nathan stood, sliding the ring onto her finger before pulling her into his arms and kissing her deeply. Around them, other gala attendees who had wandered onto the balcony began to applaud, but Nathan and Olivia barely noticed, lost in each other. In this perfect moment, in the promise of their future together, the happy ending 6 months later, they married in an intimate ceremony, surrounded by close friends and family. Olivia wore a dress that made Nathan's breath catch, and he wore a smile that he could not wipe off his face if he tried. When the minister pronounced them husband and wife, Nathan kissed his bride with all the passion and tenderness in his heart. The guests cheered, the cameras flashed, but all that mattered was the woman in his arms, the one who had changed everything. At the reception, during their first dance, Olivia rested her head on Nathan's shoulder and sighed contentedly. "What are you thinking about?" he asked. "About how jealousy brought us together." Nathan laughed. "I prefer to think of it as passion. Jealousy sounds so petty." "It was petty. You were completely irrational. I was completely in love. There is a difference." Olivia looked up at him, her eyes shining. "I love you, Nathan Blackwell. I love you more, Olivia Blackwell." They swayed together to the music, to people who had found each other against all odds, who had fought for their love through crisis and complication, who had chosen each other again and again. And as they danced beneath the stars, beginning their new life together, both knew that their story was far from over. This was just the beginning of their greatest adventure yet. The jealous billionaire had found his happy ending, and it was better than anything he could have imagined.